I remember the moment the sky broke. It was just past noon, and I was standing in the forum, blinded by the sun on marble columns, when a sound split the air. A roar so deep it shook the stones beneath my sandals. Heads turned toward Vesuvius. The mountain we had trusted all our lives was no longer green and calm, but torn open, vomiting a column of fire and ash into the heavens. People gasped, pointing, some laughing nervously, others falling to their knees. And then, like snow from hell, the first flakes of ash began to fall. Children reached to catch them in their hands. None of us knew that this was the last day Pompeii would ever live. The morning of August 24th, 79 A.D. had begun with laughter. The forum bustled with merchants shouting prices, bakers sliding bread into ovens, children chasing dogs through the colonnades. Perfume from gardens drifted into the streets, mingling with the tang of wine and smoke from taverns. Above it all loomed Vesuvius, calm and green, its slopes lined with vineyards. To us, it was not a threat, but a protector, a giant that gave us fertile soil and sweet grapes. But even before the eruption, the air was heavy, as if the city itself struggled to breathe. Dogs barked at nothing. Birds circled once, twice, and vanished toward the sea. Wells tasted of metal. We should have listened. But who listens when the gods whisper? Pompeii was Rome's paradise by the sea. A city not of politics or generals, but of indulgence and desire. Its streets glittered with mosaics. Its taverns echoed with laughter. Its baths steamed with gossip. In the Villa of the Mysteries, crimson-painted figures whirled through Dionysian rituals. In the amphitheater, gladiators clashed in the dust, their roars and steel thrilling the crowds. Even the brothels advertised their pleasures in frescoes so vivid they seemed to pulse with life. And the walls themselves spoke. Graffiti scratched into plaster carried the voices of ordinary people. Cornelius loves Julia. The election is rigged. I was here. I had a good time. Pompeii lived loudly, in words, in color, in laughter. Yet omens multiplied. Springs bubbled sulfur. Statues toppled. A year earlier, tremors had cracked temples and split houses. Some whispered that Venus had abandoned us. But most shrugged. The mountain has smoked before. Why fear what we have always lived with? Then came the roar. At first, it was only spectacle. The cloud rising into the heavens, shaped like a giant pine. The rain of ash, drifting softly, harmlessly. People marveled, still smiling. Children played, catching the flakes in their palms. But the flakes thickened. They grew sharp, hot. Roof tiles rang like drums as pumice stones fell. The sun dimmed into twilight. Panic took hold. Families dragged carts through choking streets, piling coins, jewels, even statues of their household gods. The city gates jammed with terrified crowds. Some fled to the temples, begging Jupiter, Apollo, Venus for mercy. Others rushed to the harbor, only to find the sea retreating, boiling away from the shore. Neptune himself seemed to abandon us. I remember a mother clutching her child, her hair caked white with ash, stumbling barefoot through the chaos. I remember an old man refusing to move, raising his arms in prayer until he was crushed beneath falling tiles. I remember the silence between eruptions, a silence that felt like the breath of death itself. The rain grew heavier. Roofs collapsed under the weight. Ash swallowed the streets. People tied pillows to their heads as helmets. Torches sputtered in the thick, choking air. Day turned to night. Only lightning, flashing inside the monstrous cloud, revealed the horror. Faces frozen in terror, mouths screaming, eyes blinded by ash. Across the bay, ships appeared, Roman galleys under the command of Pliny the Elder. He had set sail into the storm, determined to rescue survivors. His courage carried him through the darkness, but the mountain claimed him too. The poisoned air filled his lungs. He collapsed on the shore at Pompeii, a victim of the very disaster he tried to defy. Still the ash fell. Still the city groaned under its weight. By midnight, Pompeii was half buried. Fires licked the skyline. Families huddled in their basements, praying to gods who no longer answered. Others stumbled through the countryside, choking, blinded, lost in the storm. And yet Vesuvius was not finished. What had begun with ash would soon end with fire. The worst was still to come. The night had no stars. Above us, the sky was a boiling ocean of fire and ash, lit from within by flashes of lightning. The ground shuddered like the heartbeat of a dying giant. From every alley rose the cries of children, the prayers of mothers, the curses of men. And then came the sound, a rushing roar, louder than storms, deeper than thunder. The mountain had unleashed its final weapon, the pyroclastic surge. It swept down Vesuvius with the speed of a galloping horse, an avalanche of fire, gas, and ash hotter than any forge. It devoured the vineyards in seconds, then the villas on the outskirts, then the city itself. Walls crumbled, roofs ignited, streets filled with fire. There was no outrunning it, no fighting it. In those final moments, Pompeii became a gallery of frozen souls. A man shielding his wife with his own body. Two lovers entwined, lips pressed together as the ash consumed them. A dog chained at the doorway, straining against its collar until the fire claimed it. Children buried in their mother's arms. In kitchens, loaves still lay in ovens, blackened but whole. On tables, amphorae of wine spilled their contents into the ash. Graffiti on the walls remained unfinished. Jokes, promises, insults cut short mid-sentence. Pompeii did not die slowly. It was stopped mid-breath. When dawn finally came, the city was gone. 20 feet of ash and pumice covered the streets. The amphitheater, the temples, the painted villas, all smothered beneath a gray shroud. The bay was littered with wrecked ships. Silence ruled where once there had been laughter, music, and song. Rome mourned, but only briefly. Empires have little time for grief. Survivors built new homes. The dead were left buried. And Pompeii, the city of pleasure, was erased from the maps of the living. But not from eternity. 17 centuries later, in the 1700s, men digging for treasure struck ash instead of earth. What they uncovered was not ruin, but life itself, perfectly preserved. Walls painted with crimson still glowed with the banquets of gods and mortals. Bronze statues gleamed in courtyards. Carbonized bread lay in ovens, stamped with the baker's seal. Amphorae of oil and wine remained sealed, untouched since that day. And then there were the voids, strange, hollow spaces in the hardened ash shaped like bodies. Archaeologists poured plaster into them, and from the ground rose figures. A mother clutching her child, a man covering his face, a girl curled in terror. The plaster gave them back to us, exactly as they had died. Their fear, their love, their last breath immortalized. Today, when you walk the streets of Pompeii, you tread on stones still scarred by cartwheels. You pass villas where mosaics glimmer with sunlight, where frescoes show gods drinking, dancing, seducing. You see the amphitheater, silent, but if you close your eyes you can almost hear the roar of the crowd. The walls still speak, not just with graffiti, but with the voices of thousands who lived and died here. And above it all, Vesuvius still towers, quiet, patient, eternal. Pompeii is not only a tragedy, it is a reminder that life is fragile, that joy can vanish in a heartbeat, that even the might of Rome could not command the earth and fire. Yet it is also a miracle, a city preserved, its final day sealed forever, so that centuries later we could walk its streets and listen to its whispers. Pompeii teaches us that while death silences, memory endures. When you stand there today, with ash crunching under your feet and frescoes glowing in the Italian sun, you realize, Pompeii is not gone. It waits. It breathes through the walls, through the plastered faces, through the silence of its amphitheater. It whispers not of destruction, but of life. A life so vivid, so passionate, that not even fire and ash could erase it. And its question, carved in stone and flame, still echoes across time. What will remain of us when the sky falls?